Hi everybody, and welcome to this moonshot where we're going to be discussing Python variables. So as you can see, I have my Jupyter notebook open and it's populated with content and some code. So we're going to run through this Jupyter notebook file, but just to point out that the code examples to follow will work in any code editor or most code editors such as Sublime, Microsoft Visual Studio, and so on. So you don't have to be in Jupyter notebook if you don't want to. Please do use your preferred code editor. Okay, so let's jump in. So as I said, in this moonshot we're going to learn how to use variables. In previous moonshots we've seen how to get our development environment up and running. Now let's take a look at one of Python's fundamental building blocks, variables. So here in this code example we have two lines. One is a comment which begins in Python, or I should say Python comments begin with a hash symbol. So we're looking at the print statement, which simply says print, open and close brackets, double quotes, hello world. So what happens if I run this? Well, the output is simply hello world. And how do you run a cell in Jupyter Notebook? You simply press Shift and Enter. So if I clear the output from here, so up here, cell, clear. So there's the output clear. I'm actually going to clear the output for all cells, all output, clear. There we go. So let me run this cell again, and our output should simply be hello world. So what's just happened? Jupyter Notebook has passed our Python code through a Python interpreter. The interpreter does exactly what it says. It interprets. In this case, it interprets our print statement and decides what each word means. When the interpreter sees the word print, followed by parentheses, it prints to the screen whatever is between the parentheses. You'll also notice that different sections of the print statement are in different colors. This is called syntax highlighting, and it's performed by your code editor, which in this case is Jupyter Notebook. Our notebook recognizes that print is the name of a function and displays that word in one color. We'll be talking about Python functions in a later moonshot. It also notices that hello world is a string and displays this text editor in another color. Again, for more on strings, check out a later moonshot. Each code editor has its own version of syntax highlighting, so don't panic if your colors are different. Now run this cell again, Shift and Enter. There we go. Let's now talk about variables. Let's update our print statement from above to include a Python variable. Here we go. Let me scroll up a little bit just to make this centered. So again, we start off our code with a comment at line 1. Now we create a variable here on the left hand side, message equals and a string, hello world. At line 3, print message. Let's run this code, and the output is the same as above, hello world. In this code example, we've just added a variable called message. In Python, every variable is connected to a value. In this instance, the variable message is connected to the string hello world. So how do you connect a variable to a value? You simply use the equals operator here at line 2. Let's take a look at another example, this time with numbers. So again, on the left hand side of the equals operator, we have the name of our variable, and then on the right hand side we have the value that will be assigned to that variable. 1 plus 1, print answer. So print out the variable at line 3. Shift and Enter, and the answer is 2. So in this code example we have a variable called answer. The value of answer is 1 plus 1. This example is just to demonstrate that variables can hold different values, not just strings or integers. You'll see in later moonshots, or indeed my beginner's Python course, how variables can also hold lists, dictionaries, and much more. By adding variables to our print statements, we're asking the Python interpreter to do more work. And that's okay, it can handle it. Let's now combine our code samples from above. Print two variables with different values, message equals hello world, print message. Answer equals 1 plus 1, print answer. Shift and Enter. There we go. Let's discuss naming variables. We've just seen two examples above with two variables called message and answer. When creating variables in Python, there are a few rules and guidelines that you need to follow. Following these will help you write error-free and clean code. Here are some tips to think about when creating variables in Python. Variable names can only be made of letters, numbers, and underscores. Variable names are case sensitive. They can start with a letter or an underscore, but not with a number. You cannot use spaces in variable names. Try not to use Python keywords when creating variables. So what are Python keywords? Such as def, end, print. Stay away from common Python keywords. Try and make your variable names descriptive and helpful. Don't go along and name your variables variable 1, variable 2, variable 3. When you go and share your code with another developer, they're never going to know what variable 3 means. Better to have a descriptive variable name. For some more guidelines when writing Python code, check out the Zen of Python. How do you do that? Let's take a look. As you can see here, I have a simple comment, import this. Let me remove the hash symbol. There we go. Shift and enter. The Zen of Python by Tim Peters. So go ahead and take a look at that, or have a Google search for it. Finally, let's close off this moonshot with some common errors when using variables. One of the most common errors a new Python programmer experiences is the name error. Let's take a look. So here in our code block, we have a comment, print statement with variable. Then we have a variable, message equals the string hello world. Print, but we've misspelled message, we've left out an S. So what happens if I shift and enter? I run this cell. There we go, we get a name error. So as you can see here at the bottom of the error, name message is not defined, so message without an S. It even tells us here just directly above, at line 3, there's a problem. When you see a name error, it usually means that we either forgot to assign a value to a variable or there's a spelling mistake in the variable name, as we can see in this example. Okay guys, that's it for this moonshot. Very short and sweet, but a great introduction, if I do say so myself, into Python variables, which you can use as a building block for future moonshots. Thanks for listening, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me in this moonshots discussion section. I hope it was helpful. See you again soon.